so much for the welcome. I'm so thrilled to have everybody here today. This is a new luncheon series for us. It's called our Community Connections Luncheon. And we're kicking it off with economic development updates from Clarence and Skylar. I'm really excited to hear from them. And then you'll see on your tables there's some flyers for our next two. We're going to do one on workforce development and education. And then we also have one coming up on healthcare and public safety. And these are going well so far. Look at all of you who came out for the first one. So we're thrilled about the next ones coming up and continuing these into next year as well. So I have the honor of moderating our conversation with our speakers today. But before I get them up here, I want to make sure that I read their bios. Before I get to that, I do want to thank the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau for your sponsorship of today's event and for everybody else that's here today. So let's give a round of applause to the CVB. And it does sound like people are still munching on their lunch, and we always are so grateful to have such a beautiful facility here at Blue Chip Casino and their lovely staff to help us out with everything. So let's thank the staff at Blue Chip Casino today as well. Just in time, we're gonna put you on the spot, right? Okay, so I'm gonna start with Skylar York, Director of Planning and Redevelopment for the City of Michigan City. Skylar is a practicing planner with nearly 18 years of professional experience in planning and related fields. He became the Director of Planning and Redevelopment in January 2020. Over the past 3 years, he has provided guidance for numerous planning and redevelopment projects throughout the city. Most notable are two large downtown projects, the Downtown Transit Station and the You Are Beautiful development, which you guys will get to hear about today. He has worked for the City of Michigan City for nearly 8 years, starting as the Associate Planner, Assistant Planner, and now Director of Planning and Redevelopment. Prior to joining Michigan City, he served 7 years as the Community Development Planner for the City of Evansville in Indiana, and 3 years as a Historic Preservation Planner for the City of Spokane, Washington. Skylar received his Master's in Urban and Regional Planning from Eastern Washington State University with an emphasis in community development, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Sociology from Union College in Barberville, Kentucky. Welcome, Skylar. Clarence Holst is the Executive Director for the Economic Development Corporation, Michigan City. Clarence brings along a proven history of success in Michigan City, particularly being a change agent, a connector, and a collaborator. His diverse employment background includes both the public and private sectors in the areas of community and economic development, redevelopment, international trade, municipal management, real estate development, and workforce development. Clarence's journey has included stops in North Carolina and Florida, and if you've ever met Clarence, he'll tell you that his compass is broken and that's how he landed in northern Indiana. And we're grateful to have him. He is credited with creating over 30,000 plus jobs and $3.5 billion in direct capital investment over the past 25 years in his career. He has won both state and national awards for his work in community and economic development. His service and community involvement include Lambda Alpha International Eli Chapter, Urban Land Institute, International Council of Shopping Centers, Leadership in Florida, Leadership in Port County, Leadership Northwest Indiana, United Way of Port County, Michigan City Chamber of Commerce Board, Dunes Arts Foundation Board, and Horizon Bank Business Advisory Committee. Mr. Holst earned his BS at Harding University, AR in Public Administration, magna cum laude, and an MS in Economic Development from the University of Southern Mississippi. He is also a graduate of the University of Oklahoma Economic Development Institute, and a multitude of other things that I could include in his bio, but we would be here all afternoon. So welcome, Clarence Holst. All right, test your microphone, make sure that that's working. You can take it off of there if you'd like, if that's a little easier for you and pass it back. Maybe. Can you test it out? Just give it a test, make sure they can hear you.
Test.
Yeah, good. All right, so we have a series of questions that we've gone over together, and there will be time for some Q&A. I do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time, so we'll get to those as well. But if you have questions, hold those till the end, and we'll take as many as we have time for. this afternoon. So we're going to start with the hottest topic in economic development, community development right now, which is housing. So I'll let either of you jump in first, but where is Michigan City right now in regards to new housing developments? Where do we still need to go? And what are some of the barriers that are prohibiting more housing development in our community at this time? So I'll let you. Clarence has my stand, so he gets started.
It's a big picture question. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for all coming out today to hear what we have to say. Excuse our dust, we're in the construction in Michigan City, so it's been almost 10 years being here and seeing the city transform. It's been an amazing ride to be here. In terms of housing, that's probably the number one ask we get, and it's a national issue in Michigan City. We need housing across the board, especially in the middle income areas. For a long time, I've spoken to a number of local business who recruit people to Michigan City to work, but they end up living in Porter County, Stark County. There's no housing here, so they end up in Valpo and Chesterton or even LaPorte. And so for the first time, we're seeing housing. Rental, which we can talk about by some of the pictures you see here with apartments being downtown, condos, and I think some of you have seen the paper about a month ago. For the first time in 50 years, we have over 100 units being planned in Michigan City, mid-market, between 270 and 325. I mean, that's a big deal for Michigan City. So I think we're at the cusp of housing because we also look at affordable housing, affordable rental. What does it look like in the future? New rehab. And so we are working with a new CDC here in the city, with the city of Michigan City, to put together some plans and look at all infill housing for lots across the city. Again, we're trying to go and build across a spectrum of housing from low end, middle end, high end, because we want to be a welcoming community that welcomes everybody to Michigan City.
Yeah, I would just say the same. I mean, I echo that, but I come at it from the regulatory standpoint. What are the rules that to build the housing, things of that nature? I think from some of the, I'll speak to kind of some of the barriers. Some of the things we're seeing is, sub 1,000 square foot houses. We're looking at some ordinances right now to see if we can help out some of those infill lots and make them, where they fit into the neighborhood. Obviously not 400 square foot, but maybe could they be 800, 700 square foot houses, things of that nature. I personally live in a 950 square foot house. We couldn't build that today. So that's kind of one of the barriers to I think, probably affordable housing, but also attainable housing in our neighborhoods and infill housing. Some of the other things we're looking at, you have the new 100 lot subdivision coming in. It's very important because we don't have comps in the city for houses being sold in the city. That's a big issue with getting developers to come build houses. We have houses being developed. I can show you permits from our office where houses have been built, but they're not being sold. They're personal houses. They're being held and living in. They're not being sold. So that creates a dilemma for us to try to coax the developer to come here. I could say that the developers that are proposing this are not seeking anything from the city. It's a straight subdivision. They don't want they haven't asked the city for an incentive or anything of that nature, which is a big deal because it's been hard to get anyone here without them saying, well, can you provide the road or the infrastructure or this, that, and the other. That's a hard thing for the city when we're focused on other things like apartments in downtown. Those take sometimes heavy incentives to incentivize that, because downtown development's a lot different than a suburban development. It's a clean slate out there. Downtown is a little bit harder. You don't know what you're going to dig up out of the ground, things of that nature. I would say that we're doing a very good job in filling the spectrum, which is what we're missing. Clarence talked about the spectrum of housing. We're missing attached single-family townhomes, things of that nature. We're missing downtown apartments. We're missing more suburban-ish type ex-urban housing, which is kind of the 100-lot subdivision that's being proposed. And those are all different. You're hitting all different spectrum of incomes as well there. So I think we're doing a very good job of filling in the gaps, but I think some of the things I have to work on from the regulatory side are how do we make it easier to get those products online and quicker. It comes down to permitting issues, down to square footage issues, and then just simply, if we're downtown, what incentives, what products, what tools do we have to incentivize that? I think another issue with housing is to for us to not be scared of tax credits, things of that nature. There's money at the state level where we can fold affordable housing into developments, and we can take the stigma of affordability or away from that as a community, and really everyone could live in that, have the opportunity to live in a really cool apartment, you know. So that's kind of my piece on that.
Yeah, so before we get off housing, and we call it Clarence and add anything additional, but kind of brought up that this new development is not seeking anything from the city right now. So what data are they looking at? It's kind of risky, right? We've not had a development like this in a long time. So what data are they looking at, or that you guys have provided, or that's been taken care of, that's making them take that risk?
So these developers have gradually worked their way from southern Michigan into the market, Mishawaka, they're in LaPorte, things like that. So they're really kind of saying, we think this is where it's at least that's my understanding or our understanding from it. But they've had very, very good success in other markets around us. So it makes a natural transition to look at Michigan City, and we're saying, yeah, we want this here. We did a housing study for LaPorte County in general, and I think they come out and said we need 5,700 new units out of that. So we're looking at about 6,000 units. 1,200 of those would be market rate affordable, or market rate attainable housing. We want to make sure we get our share of that in Michigan City, right? So I want to make sure we have new residents living in Michigan City.
Plus, we're the coolest city around.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We have a big lake.
We have a beach, we have a national park, a casino, we get a great downtown arts district, so why not Michigan City?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things that is kind of putting us on the map and causing a lot of conversation in the region and probably really in the state is double track. And I don't think if you work or live in Michigan City, you probably have seen all of the construction that's happening along that corridor. It's been a conversation that's been going on for a long time. It's often referred to as a game changer for Michigan City. I'm assuming both of you agree that's true. Okay. So what do you see differently in the development game right now because of double track? And how will newly developed TDD spur more development in that area? And maybe if you could explain what that transit development district looks like a little bit too, for those that might not know what that covers.
Explain that. Double track began before I got here. I think it's been talked about for 20 plus years. And so I think we're fortunate to be in the middle of it with the mayor and the council to try and figure out how to implement double track, because it's not a simple project. It's lots of moving parts. There's issues and challenges along the way, and the city does a good job of managing all that together with NICD and the RDA and everybody else who wants to stick their nose in. So it's always something going on with double track. But the good thing about double track for us has been it's put us on the map, so to speak. Imagine being 90 minutes to 2 hours from downtown Chicago, now an hour. And so a lot of our projects, the hotel, condo, the apartment project, is because of double track, because what they're seeing is people living an hour from Chicago and working in Chicago. And we are in the same equidistance as in Schaumburg or Niles or Libertyville in Illinois, where you can live in Indiana for cheaper and being a cooler city, I think. Small downtown, art district, beach, waterfront. You have all these amenities within walking distance. And I think having that to sell has been a great thing for Michigan City. We also see a different level of developers, people who come prepared and they've got money and they want to spend it, which is different than 10 years ago when people would come to us and we'd actually want to give away the land to them, build something. Now they're paying for the land. It's a big difference for the city. So people are coming, very sophisticated developers who know what they want to do and they're willing to get it done. Big change for the city. So we want to take that, but also make sure we build great development spaces for the residents and the visitors, but also how do we ensure people here are going to be able to enjoy it and not get pushed out. So that's another issue we're facing, and how to address it now than the future. So, but double track is the game changer for us, the catalyst for all developments. So how do we get more people living here in the city in the future? And that's going to drive residential development in the city, both rental and fee simple ownership.
Yeah, I agree. It's a game changer. I think it's also a game changer for Northwest Indiana in general. I think, yeah, getting to Chicago is pretty cool. When I moved here, one of the things I remember looking at was the double tracking project. Hadn't even begun yet. I was like, oh, that's exciting. I'm going to get to maybe have a part in that. And now I am playing a role in that. It's very exciting. It's a complicated project, very complicated, but it's fun and frustrating all in the same thing, all in the same breath. But one of the things I think will be really critical in the future is not just getting to Chicago, but getting in between other cities. So when Miller redevelops, when South Bend redevelops, or when they run the train to South Bend downtown, there's an opportunity in the near future for us to go in between cities and see that type of transportation as well. We could go over to Gary or Miller or wherever in between. Just that's some exciting opportunities for those cities to redevelop as well as our city to redevelop. Maybe they come here for the weekend and go back. There's just all kinds of opportunities that come along with this rail. It becomes like a backbone to some extent to here, and I think even all the way up to even Milwaukee all the way around. It becomes this opportunity for really at a maybe even at a national level. For infrastructure improvements. So especially rail. I think Clarence is right. A lot of opportunities are coming out of this. I think people have been looking at us and just waiting, like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? We've been talking about it forever, and now it happened, and we're just getting literally bombarded now with opportunities. But I will echo that the level of developers are much more sophisticated now. We don't have to beg for financials, things of that nature. We're not asking, they provide that up front. I think also the opportunities that we're seeing at a regional or even state level coming to us, that's not happened in the future, at least in my tenure here. It was always Chicago, which, we still have Chicago developers, but now we're seeing developers from the region, but also from the state level. And that's really exciting too, to say that, I think people finally found out, hey, we got a big lake here. We have this really awesome opportunity in Northwest Indiana.
I would say that currently in our files, we have $1 billion worth of projects just downtown, billion with a B. So that's a lot of money about to be spent in a small city of about 33,000 people. So imagine what it's like to look like in 10 years. So I always tell people, if you're a business owner or looking to retire the next 2 or 3 years, figure out what you want to spend your next 20 years doing. If you want to start a business in Michigan City, and now's the time to be thinking about starting a business in Michigan City. Drive to a train station in Chicago, New Jersey, and look at within half a mile of what's type of restaurants and stores and business are around a train station. That's the same thing you'll have in Michigan City. So if you're looking to start a business, go and drive around 2 or 3 train stations in Chicagoland, and those are the type of business will be attracted around a train station. They're coming to Michigan City, want people here from here start that business.
Should we talk about the TDD?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll point out the picture next to Schuyler there is the downtown 11th Street area, the train station there, which is kind of our, the hub of everything. But then as we look at transit development districts, there's definitely development areas around that. So yes, Schuyler, if you could talk about what those areas encompass and what you're looking at to develop there.
So I forgot to mention the transit development district as one of the tough questions she asked. So this is our train station. This is the 11th Street location. This is the whole block development. It'll be a parking garage and a 12-story tower with a smaller 6-story tower next door to it. 220 units of apartments. There'll all be market rate apartments. It's got some, I think 5,000 to 6,000 square foot of commercial space on the bottom, which you're seeing on the corner. So that's kind of that development. What I kind of see for this train station is, I know people talk about the double tracking and that it's going to divide our city. It could divide whatever, things of that nature. I don't see it as a division. I see it as an opportunity to really develop what I consider downtown. I consider downtown from Amesfield, really, maybe even further down to Cool Springs, north to 4th, because it's still walkable. It's very walkable. It's a very tight community. You got very tight neighborhoods around it. The density's there. So what I see is really an opportunity to include Midtown into what we consider downtown. So that would be 11th to like Amesfield. So the TDD district, Transit Development District, it's a new tool from the state. It's only offered to communities that have 6 cities right now have it. We were one of the first. I got it approved at the end of last year. at the state level. We're one of the first, and it goes essentially, it's kind of like an amoeba, but I'm going to explain it in general. It goes from pretty much 2nd Street down to Ames Field, the backbone of Franklin Street. And what the Transit Development District is, it's kind of like a super TIF, if you will. A TIF is a tax increment financing district. But it also collects a couple of other things. It collects an income tax as well in there. It also collects a sales tax, which then is returned to the state to pay off the double tracking project and the state debt associated with the double tracking project. The goal of the Transit Development District is really density and development inside that district. I think our challenge right now, from a city standpoint, is to make sure it's appropriate density and appropriate development in that corridor, to make sure that we're getting the right heights, the right bulk and size. And when I talk about that, is how do we build back Franklin Street, the block face, and maintain that pedestrian orientation, because it is our downtown. It is our downtown. This is supposed to be slower traffic, walkability, all those things you hear about downtown. So I'm sure you guys have heard them numerous times. How do we create that? How do we ensure that's created? And you got to be intentional about that, really. So we're working with codes right now that we could implement from not just downtown, but all the way down to Ames Field along that corridor. So that's kind of the Transit Development District in general. Its east and west boundaries are kind of quirky. They go around opportunities for development. Franciscan is in there. That's an opportunity for redevelopment, so we put it in there. But also what it does is it provides a tool in the future for us to help development. How can we incentivize that development? So it's a kind of a tool for the future of development in that area.
So maybe while we're thinking about that, let's jump to other things that are happening on the north end. So we have this other great, by the way, I just want to thank Clarence for putting together these amazing visuals for everybody today to look at. We thank his team, Caroline and Lily, for helping put those together today. To talk about this project and other things that are happening on the north end, which I'm sure you could list all day, all afternoon.
I can do this all day long.
Let's stick to those.
As I mentioned, $1 billion in the pipeline, so this is $250,000,000. So this is the first portion of the $1 billion project. We met these developers probably 5 years ago. So when people say, well, why does things take so long? It does take a long time to get stuff together. You got to clear property, make sure that you do environmentals, you got to build a capital stack, you got to look at incentives. So there's a lot of financial, legal, and other things you got to get done before we get to this point. So this is probably the third rendering of what we're going to build, because the first one didn't look like this. But it's been a long process, but a good process to get through. And so when we began, it was one hotel and condos. That's all it was. And now there's 2 hotels, condos, townhomes, 4th floor, I call it adult playground with a public pool and a bar. Restaurants on the top floors. So this is not only a place to live, but it's also an amenity. It's like Hotel California. Once you go there, you'll never want to leave. And so that's the intent for you to come to Mission City and not leave. For those of you who want to buy one, Ms. Casey is here. She's a broker, so make sure you get her number before she leaves, because she's there looking to start. They take reservations. But this is like, and we talk about game changers. This is like catalyst and a game changer for Mission City. This will be the only building on the waterfront in the whole region like this. And so anybody in the region who wants to come to enjoy a waterfront, they'll come to Michigan City. You can look at on the 4th floor, look at the lake, enjoy some drinks and hang out. And it's, we've had a lot of locals getting reservations. Everybody thinks it's the Chicago people. She'll tell you there's a lot of locals buying into this because they're downsizing. And so, which we want to see. The same thing for the apartments. When they opened the ones up in LaPorte, it's the locals who went in first. And the same thing you'll see here in Mission City when we break ground on this summer. It'll be when they'll start filling it up. It'll be locals. So that's exciting because people want to upgrade, want to be in somewhere nice. FYI, there's really no pet-friendly apartment in Michigan City. These are all pet-friendly. That's a big deal. People with pets spend money. So, so there's a missing market in Michigan City. No, I mean, they do. Let's be honest, they do. And then over there's industrial development, Burnham Brewing. microbrewery, HealthLink, building a new location behind Ivy Tech, great project. LaPorte County, 112,000 people, 18,000 people without healthcare in LaPorte County. So we're trying to address that need here in Michigan City for LaPorte County. So when we're building, it's not only about building housing and breweries and the winery. We look at healthcare, education, industrial projects. So we're trying to build a whole community.
Yeah, yes, it's very, I know we're going into probably a different question where it's, people always ask, well, what's taking so long with these projects? I mean, we basically designed a $100 million building, this one, in about a year and a half, which typically takes you quite a while to design a building like that and put together a project. It's always adjustments to finances to it. There's always something that happens that you don't, as I said, downtown development's hard. There's interest rates you're dealing with, but you're also dealing with a pipe you didn't find or know was in the ground. Now you got to mitigate that, or there's an environmental issue. Your environmentals are only good for so long, and then you have to redo them. There's always something. It's like we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back constantly. So that's really what's taking so long. The exciting thing about both of these projects is we believe we're over the mid-range, the middle of it. We're toward the end of each project and getting them basically to shovel ready. They're actually out today doing some aerial photos of that one today, so they're on site. So in the past, I would just say that we haven't had the developers at both of these are spending good bounce of money right now. We haven't even put a shovel in the ground. So that lets me know, hey, they're interested, they've got money, they're willing to spend it and really put the money where their mouth is rather than just talking about it. Both of these are exciting. I don't know, you kind of said everything I had to say about it. This one's very exciting. We went out to RFP for this one. This is the third time. The first two were very tall buildings. They're about 15 to 20 stories tall. I feel like this one's a little bit more appropriate in our downtown and on our lakefront. Really, it fits in. It's a beautiful building. I like this one way better than the original one. So I will say that. The architect that designed this is a really good architect. I kind of call her a starchitect, Jackie Koo. So she's designed some pretty cool buildings. Anyways, what else can I say? What else?
So part of the question too is, we get often asked, well, when is it really going to happen? And I know you guys get that asked as well.
I get asked that every time.
You mentioned, Clarence, you talked about the transit, with the train station, shovels in the ground this year. We'll start to see stuff going up this year.
You'll see this probably break ground in the end. I would say probably June we will break ground. Right now we're figuring out the final. There's some pieces of land that we have to transfer from NICD to the Redevelopment Commission, and then from the Redevelopment Commission to the developer. So you can kind of see we have to go through all these processes, and obviously many of you know how government works. Very slowly, never fast enough because of all the public processes and transparency and things of that nature. So we're just kind of dealing with those issues right now. It's just mainly, it's kind of in transit, if you will.
So while we're on the north end, I have to ask about the Franklin Street corridor and two-way. Yep. Converting to a two-way. Just timeline. Just really, if you can shoot out a timeline.
So what we did.
So for those that don't know, currently heading north only.
So what we did was we planned it out. We were talking about reverse angle parking. We had a cost estimate that came in. Unfortunately, it came in 3 times over budget. So we're going back to, which is it's pretty typical right now, I would say. We're seeing lots of, especially infrastructure projects, come in 2 to 3 times over budget. So we're going back to the drawing board and trying to see how can we get this project done? How can we get two-way streets back in downtown? And what's the most efficient way to do that? So the goal was to have it in before Memorial Day. I don't see that happening right now. Memorial Day is like in a couple weeks. And I don't want to do that during the summer because that would just be terrible for everyone involved, especially me. So, but I think we have to get, back to two-way. I feel like with the project in the way that I explained it in, connecting our 2 downtowns, really making one downtown, a south of downtown and a north downtown, the two-way street is really essential to get back in the Uptown Arts District. It really is, because you already have two-way down south. And if we're going to do a streetscape improvement to really blend those two together and make it a cohesive downtown, which we have in the works right now, some plans we're working on, it really is an important piece to connect those two together, to make sure we get two-way to some extent. Is it reverse angle parking? Right now, I'm not going to say that, because we may go back to the drawing board and say it's not that. But I think it's more important to focus on getting two-way streets in downtown and really making that first step or first effort to make sure that we're connecting our north and south end of downtown.
Great.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
So going back to the train station, I think what's important about the train station is really, what I see it is really important. When we first started the train station discussion, I'll keep this brief, it was just a parking lot with 437 parking spaces, or a parking garage. That's what it was. That's what we were going to program into the space. We reserved a little bit of space for commercial, but it really wasn't enough. It was only about 4,700 square feet, I think. It wasn't a big space, and it just didn't work, honestly. It would have been hard to sell. It probably would have ended up being an empty space, a park was what it would have been. The important thing with this train station is now we got people. So before, with the garage, people were coming here. Yeah, they're coming to our downtown. They may go out for a drink afterwards or have a meal, but then they get in their car and they leave. They don't stay here. The important thing with this station and the way we designed it, we get people coming here. Some of them will park and leave, but a lot of them are going to park and stay here in our downtown. It's maybe potentially, if there's 220 apartments, maybe there's 400 new people in our downtown at all times. That's a big deal for our downtown. That's a really big deal. We've struggled for years to really be impactful with the amount of really new people. And that's really an important thing to remember with this. It's not people coming, parking, getting in a car and leaving. It's staying here in our downtown. That's kind of how I see this. And that's really the impact from the garage to really, we still have a garage, but now we have this other building that provides that. That's impactful.
And we do have a lot of stories in some of these developments. So this is a story I over some beer one day, but we got money from the feds just for a garage, and we're like, blah, that's okay. Thank you for the money, but it's not transformative. Yeah. It took us a year to fight to get this, and so we now have to deal with them. We'll build the garage first, and because they're like, we don't care what you do with the rest of the property. We want a garage. So we wanted something different than just a garage. It took us a year to get there, to fight to get it, but the city got it. But a lot of stories behind how we got there, because we wanted more. We wanted something transformative for downtown and connecting the two parts of downtown, north and south. So this is what we end up doing. We end up getting, which I think is a better project. Yeah.
Well, thank you for fighting. So before we jump in, I want to give Clarence an opportunity to talk about the Brookings Institute and some of the projects you guys are doing and how community members are getting involved with some of the development that's happening or potentially can happen. But we did have a question that was submitted. So before we get off of development, I'm going to hand this back over to Skylar about permitting processes here in Michigan City and expediting those, and kind of where are we at now and what are you looking at to maybe look at digitally expediting some permitting so that can be done a little faster as we have new developers coming to the area?
Yeah, so permitting is an issue. We're still dealing with paper applications. I'd really like to get away from that, Mayor. I'm sorry to put you on the spot right now. I got asked the question. I have to give an honest opinion. We really do need to we need to move to a digital age. It's very nice with some permitting processes. I've worked in cities where we do that. I was a permitter, a technician at one time, and just pushing along designs and plans. It's nice to see where your permit's at, where it's hung up at, what you need to give people. If you owe them a lateral permit, do you owe them a stormwater prevention plan? What do you owe them? What do you got to get to them? I really think in the near future we need to be looking at how do we digitize that? During COVID, we digitized some things, but we're still taking paper, and it'd be nice, I think, from a transparency standpoint, for a person want to build a house, they come in, they put the permit in. Where's my permit at in the process? They can go online, see where that's at. That's really the other systems that I've worked on in other cities, and once it's out of my hand, I check off on it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's really kind of nice from the standpoint of the technician reviewing that. So that's kind of I think that's where we need to go. I think it might help us. Now, I will say this, I have two permanent job openings in my city, or in the department right now. I need a plumber, and I need an electrician. You guys know anyone? Send them my way, please. So that's been an issue too, is really getting personnel and keeping personnel who are qualified to review the documents. Right now, I have a building commissioner who works her butt off. She does a really good job. Her name's Sue Downs. Problem is, there's one person, and honestly, during COVID, we thought we were going to slow. After COVID, we were like, during COVID, we were like, we probably will be laying people off. We never laid anyone off. We thought it would slow down after kind of the issue, but we haven't slowed down yet. In fact, I would say that we're seeing more permits than ever right now. Yvonne, our controller, tells me that she's seen us more permitting numbers up since the time she'd been there, 20 years or so. So all that compounds it, right? Makes it even harder. But I think going to a digital age and really getting involved in that would be, I think that's a solution, and at least it gives the public an idea of, okay, where's my permit at? Where's it at? Where am I in the queue? You know, things of that nature. So that's something we have to talk about. Obviously, it all comes down to financing and how do we find the money to do that, et cetera. Do we have the right system to do that? You know, do we need a new system? You know, things of that nature. So that's kind of where it is. Hopefully I give an answer. We're doing the best we can. Golly, we push things out as quickly as we can. With these two projects, these are massive projects. I'm also worried about them from the standpoint of, okay, I can't have my building commissioner go here for 4 days, you know, spend her time here, which is what it would take to review the improvements here that have been made, or the infrastructure stuff. So that's something I'm going to have to deal with in the near future, and how do we tackle that issue? So if you know of an electrician and a plumber, please send them our way.
So before we get to audience Q&A, just spend a couple minutes talking about the Vibrant Michigan City initiative and how that's pulling together community members, and the areas that it's serving or is focusing on.
Sure. I mean, we're all excited about building, physical infrastructure in the city and all the new developments, but, the city has always had have and have-nots. And so as we venture into all this new development and investment, we want to make sure people aren't left behind. And so one of the things that we've been very intentional about is how do we do that? And with the resources we have, the people we have. And so about 1.5 years ago, State of Indiana came to us and said, hey, we're looking for 3 cities to be guinea pigs to work on improving communities. It's like, we're like, pick us. And so we are very fortunate to be one of 3 small cities in Indiana under 50,000 population, to be working with a group called Brookings Institution. If you ever heard about them, they write white paper for the White House and Congress. We also work with another group called LISC, which is a national nonprofit, and they can do housing, commercial loans, development. They are developers nationally. And so we have those 2 national nonprofits in our backyard right now. We've picked 3 of the areas with the highest poverty. West Side, 39%, so East Side, I think 32%, and Midtown, 27%. And the goal is to look at what are some of the issues that has not allowed development, which includes affordable housing, childcare, jobs, transportation. I mean, all those other, I call them soft issues that we sometimes overlook, but also how can we start putting dollars back into those communities and programs. And so the good thing is we've been the last 4 months, and we have another 3 more meetings 3 more months ago, put together a playbook. And the great thing about this is they're not putting up together a plan to put on the shelf. They'll be here the next 3 years working with us, the city, the community, to help implement all these plans that we have talked about. And so that excites me because we want to make sure people aren't left behind with everything we got going on. And so while we're doing all this multi-million development, we're also trying to make sure our neighborhoods are being stabilized, and people who need jobs, need skill enhancement, are getting those things to be part of what's happening in the city. So I'm excited. We call it Vibrant Michigan City. So if you see that popped up somewhere, that's where it is. It's the communities in Midtown, East Side, West Side, working together with the city, LISC, and Brookings to put together a plan for their community. And the area surrounds downtown in a U-shape. We're talking about the prison. What's going to happen there in 20 years? It has a 20-year shelf life. Do we as a state to move it? It's a good discussion. It's 100 acres. And if you can walk from the prison to the national park, not if you're a prisoner, you can't get out, but it's that close. So how do we make sure, I start lobbying to get the prison moved? We're spending $1.4 billion 20 miles south of here. What's another $1 billion in 20 years to put a prison in Westville? So let's start thinking big, and it can happen. We just got to start planting the seeds and work and push and push and push and get it done.
Thank you. So we'll open it up for a couple questions from the audience, if there's anybody that has one. If not, I can let them do some closing comments, and we'll bring up our closing remarks. Any new I can count on, tell me something. Do you need a microphone? Probably not, sir. Stand, you're good, yeah.
Thank you. By the way, thank you very much for the presentation and answering the questions. Katie asked really good questions. I'm sure that you all worked on those questions together. One of those things that, Clarence, you and I spoke of before, we need to provide a conduit for people to have jobs and have well-paying jobs. Often these jobs are not within walking distance of where they're going to live, which means a piece of this has to be transportation. Absolutely. How are we addressing that issue? I think you touched upon everything else, but how are we addressing the issue of transportation that I think is vital in actually developing this entire area, all these projects?
Well, good question, because that's one of the issues that came up in the whole Brookings initiative with East Side, West Side, and Midtown is transport to jobs. We have an opportunity right now to help fix that with Double Track. We're talking about having some kind of shuttle system to get around downtown, but how do you integrate it as part of the citywide transportation system? So there's that discussion going on how to make that work. Obviously, it's the dollars and cents discussion, because those are federally funded, so the city has to go ask for grants to get those type of projects funded, because it takes a lot of money. Bus systems don't make any money, by the way, anywhere in the country. So those are usually federal grants that the city go ask for grants to expand their busing system. But having a train station aids that discussion and helps getting those kind of grants.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're good. I think too, I have been talking with our transit director, Ms. Robin Tillman. We do have some plans. So we're going to have to adjust our bus system, obviously, because of downtown. We closed 22 streets downtown. We're going to have to adjust. We're going in different directions. We've also made, we have a bus shelter pilot program we're going to put out. So we're making some way on that. I know that the transportation director's intention in the future, once the train station is built, is for that to kind of almost be a hub, if not the hub, a second hub, and then kind of run a different type of transportation system. It's called a spoke and tire method, I think. I think one of the issues too is that we have to look at shift workers and can we keep a bus running later? How can we adjust that? Clarence and I get that question. I think we get that question a lot. How do you get the late shift? People are still working that late shift. Our buses end at 11 or 10. That's an issue. And then just being intentional about, making sure we're making improvements down on Franklin Street, south of Cool Spring, to make sure that we're providing access to bus shelters, access to, can I walk to that place, make sure those sidewalks are going in. We have a project down there that's going to be kicking off in the near future where we're going to be retrofitting Franklin Street with some new sidewalks, because we've been having a lot of people walking in streets down there, and I'm trying to alleviate that. Larkspur will become a new funnel, and we have permission from state right now, NDOT, to put a crossing lane there, so you can actually, as a pedestrian, hit a button and walk across 421, which makes total sense. We're unfortunately going to have to funnel people to Larkspur to get them across, but it offers up a safe passage across 421, which is a dangerous street. People will go very fast on it. So being intentional about improvements like that, I think, are really important in the future as we grow.
Thank you very much.
I'll take one more question if anybody has one, or we'll do closing remarks from you guys before I let you back to your seats.
There's got to be more questions, guys. Come on.
Guys, we're very thorough on everything we talked about, for sure. Yes.
So, a lot of good information today as well. To reiterate that, one question I have about each one: what's the delivery date on the solar?
Delivery date on solar.
Probably.
Breaking ground.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to put together the capital stack right now. They're the architect is drawing it. I know the state has to give them a response on the tax credit from the state. That's a big part of the time, the schedule. But if they get a response, let's say in July, August, maybe we can break ground fall or next spring. The thing is, I tell people though, this is like a 3-year project. It's not like a 1 year and done. It's a very complicated project. You got a 4-story parking garage, building a ramp. It's not an easy project. So I know they're talking to a couple of local contractors too, because they want to have a lot of local people involved. One of the things when I spoke to the architect, she's trying to get a feel of the region and have those designed into the building. So we're excited about that, having different features of the region in the building. So we're excited about this project for a number of reasons, but it's probably the biggest project considered for a long time. And like I said, the last piece right now is the state tax credit. Yeah. And once we get that response, we'll know they'll put together a time frame at that point.
This project alone will be a 2-year build. They've already secured, they're securing a location for office space. Like they will literally move up here, being an office space, have apartments here where the contractor is the director of the construction project. This will be a 2-year build. Speaking of tax credits, this is a $21 million tax credit infusion, which equals about $17.5 million in tax credits or in proceeds. 21 million in tax credits, 17 million in proceeds. That's really important. We went back for one round of tax credits. We have 15 million. We needed a few more. We went back to the state. We ended up with 21 million. This one is a $33 million ask of tax credits. We think they're going to end up somewhere around 20. That's a big deal for Michigan City. We've never gotten tax credits like that ever. It's a really big deal. I don't know how if I can stress that. It's a huge deal. There's only $50 million of tax credits in the whole state. So we're getting 21 million here and potentially 20 million to 25 million there. That's a big deal for Michigan City. That means at the state level, they're looking at Michigan City seeing the potential that we see.
And having them put us in the Brookings project, that's also being paid for by the state, and met with them last month, and they want to make sure we have some projects ready for the Ready Grant program. Last year, the state gave away $500 million to communities across the state, and we got like $300,000. So this year, we want to put a couple of multi-million-dollar projects in that ask, because we want to be ready to have stuff that's ready to be funded in the future. So, and
we have some right now that we're working with. We have some cost estimates right now that we're going to be submitting for, and we're preparing others.
So before I let you, any closing remarks or anything that you missed out on that you would like to add?
I'll go first. You close this out. I would just say, I'm going to let Clarence close it out. He always brings the thunder.
Oh, Lord.
So follow that up. I would just say it's an exciting time to live in Michigan City. I've worked here for 8 years. I left Evansville and really just seen a lot of potential here, the double tracking project. That's just one piece of it. I don't think it's the golden goose at all. I think there's lots of other things that have to come along with that. Investment in our neighborhoods, more community development needs to happen here at a grassroots level. I'm just really excited about the potential future. We didn't talk about potential future. In 10 years, where will we be? I'd like to see us at least maybe at 41,000 people in population.
Let me write this down.
That'd be my goal. 41,000. 45, why not?
Let's round it off.
Round it off, I'd like to see us there. I think we can do it in 10 years. And that's really exciting, an exciting outlook for Michigan City. And this is a really exciting job. It's very rewarding. It's hard, but it's very rewarding. And thank you all for investing in Michigan City and employing people and things of that nature. Really, we can't do it without you.
Thank you again for coming. And like Skylar, I've been here, I guess in 3 months, it'll be 10 years. And one of the reasons why I came to Michigan City, I've been to Chicago a number of times living in Florida. And I'm a water person, so every city I've worked in the country, there's a lake, an ocean, or a river. So that's my attraction to any place I work. And so the lake attracted me, that's why I came. But my first 2 years here, I almost left. One of the reasons was people here didn't like their city. And oh crap, if you don't like it, I can't sell it, because this is your hometown. And so I think we spent the first 3 years just telling people what they had here, what was the asset. And Don Babcock, to his credit, had the whole Gaysayers little patch on your coat, and then there was a group in the chamber. What was it called?
Now,
See now?
MC Now, who really pushed and promoted the city. And so I think the first 3 years, I would say we were just trying to promote Big City to its residents, because I think people didn't like their own city. And so that really helped with the whole positive attitude and mentality, helped attract more people here who want to invest, because if you don't like your own city, why would I want to be here? And I think now we're seeing a lot happening. I tell people, you have to get involved. Sit on citizens commission and boards and committees. The mayor's always looking for people to be on those committees, can't find people. Please get on those boards and committees, because we need people who want to be involved, who want to see the city grow and make sure everybody is getting a piece of the pie, so to speak. So get involved. The city has some great things are happening. You can be part of it, and we want to see people be part of it. It's not only us, it's everybody doing this. We are only like the ones behind the scenes pushing stuff and pushing paper and making phone calls, but it's people out there like you who can talk about what's going on, be a part of it, and jump on board. So thank you for coming today, and looking forward to seeing you all in different committees and different projects we're working on. So thank you.
thank you.
All right, we'll let you out of your hot seats. Thank you so much. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. So I don't know about you guys, but so I was born and raised in Michigan City, and I love Michigan City. Who in here loves Michigan City? Thank you. So I do think, there's been a lot of people that over the years have made that effort to make sure that the residents and the people that we're attracting to Michigan City love this community, know what's going on in the community. And so part of this luncheon series is to better inform all of you, and hopefully you'll take the messages that you heard from Clarence and Skylar and take those back to your workplaces, to your family, to your friends, to those who are going to come and visit Michigan City this summer, because we know we are going to have a lot of visitors this summer, and we're really excited about that. So I hope that you guys learned some information that you can take back with you. I do want to point out some elected officials that are with us today, and then one really important one I'm going to ask to come over and give some closing remarks as we finish today. Dahlia Zegas, Councilwoman, thank you so much. And from Senator Braun's office, we do have Tony Ferraro here with us this afternoon as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And to close out the luncheon, I'm going to invite Mayor Dwayne Perry to come up and give us some closing remarks.
Thank you, Katie. I didn't know what to expect when I came here, so I'll talk fast before I get the hook. It's a pleasure being here with you today. I like talking about Michigan City because I'm third generation, but I love talking about where the city's going. And this city is entering a cycle that I'm fairly confident it has never seen before. First of all, before I get going, I want to add a comment to that gentleman's question about local transit. I have been talking with our transit director, Robin Tillman. We are buying smaller buses in the future, more effective. We'll be adding routes and we'll be adding hours, because we know that we have to serve every working person in Michigan City. Back to what I was going to start with. We're really taking off, and in the puzzle that ends in an image of a successful community, you got a lot of pieces in that puzzle. So I'm going to talk about a couple of them that I consider behind the scenes, what I consider heavy lifting. Starting with public safety. Everyone knows we had a shooting a couple weeks ago. Well, we are addressing that. We have been addressing that for some time. Gun violence is an action that's spontaneous, it's an action of impulse, and you cannot stop it. We're going to get guns off the street to reduce it, but we're also going to, with the help of the Raven and the Flock identification systems, our goal is an arrest within 24 hours. And I believe that goal is achievable. And I am lobbying with the county, the prosecutor, and the judicial system to put these people in jail with high bonds and not let them out. And if the people that act like this know that they're going to get arrested and they're going to jail. That's the greatest deterrent that we can put out there. Michigan City Police is entering a new era. It's the new Michigan City Police Force. We've seen a lot of retirements. We've seen some transfers with our budgetary shortfall and lack of funds to bring them up to make them competitive. Because of the public safety local income tax that was approved, we have addressed that. We've addressed it in a manner, with the help of the council, we've addressed that in a manner that will draw officers to Michigan City, will keep them here without having to get in a bidding war every year to keep our officers here. We have benefits that are wage-related and non-wage related, because we will get back up to over 90 police officers, because we're growing and that's a necessity. And with the detection devices that we're going to have, and with the help of the Port County Sheriff Heath, who has always been here for us, Indiana State Police, we're going to have a task force effect that Michigan City is. If you are afraid to come out after dark, you're not going to live here. And we are not going to let that happen. That's the future. Also, public safety is our fire department. When we had COVID, we had drownings on the lakefront because we didn't have enough lifeguards. Well, we solved that issue too. It was my administration. I feel gifted because I feel I have the best administration a mayor could have. We had some stayed over from the last administration, a lot climbed on board, and it's truly a remarkable group of people. They're not competitive with each other, they're cooperative with each other. When we took, this administration is daring, but we are not careless either. We're careful about what we do because we don't want to make a mistake, but we are also daring. Like Skylar referred to, when the double track first started a couple years ago, it was nothing more than what NICD wanted, just a parking garage and loading platforms for passengers. Skylar and I talked about it. He said we can draw other entities in there, the Indiana Development Authority. We can draw other mayors in and we can get what we want. So we talked about it. We decided we want it all. And that's what we're getting now. We're going to have a 12-story multi-use facility there that will clearly define the downtown area of Michigan City. And talking about courage, when our Michigan City Historic Preservation Board vetoed the first design for the station block that NICD presented, I sweated up a storm, because at that point, if NICD wanted to, we guaranteed them 500 plus parking spaces. They could have gone eminent domain all up and down 11th Street for at-grade parking until they got to 500. But I have a great working relationship with Mike Nolan, and they went back and redesigned it. So now we've got a landmarks project that is going to define the skyline on the south side of the lake. Nobody else is going to have a skyline like us along the South Shore. So it's really, and Michigan City Fire Department, going back to the lakefront situation, we have goals. When I switched the responsibility for lifeguards from the park department, whose job is to maintain the beautiful parks we have, and we keep adding all the time, to Michigan City Fire Department, which their function in my eyes is life safety, we took action. We now have a rapid response emergency jet ski type vehicle. We are ordering the little remote flyers. Drones, thank you. A little bit of COVID, but I'm still there. We're going to have drones. Our goal, which we are very close to achieving, is a 90-second response time. With the drones, we will be able to detect when a swimmer is going into trouble, and we will be able to respond and get them out of danger within 90 seconds. Pretty cool. And that, with the public safety that the police department is pushing for, 24-hour arrests, we're gonna have a community that people are gonna feel safe wherever they're at, whenever they're there, 24 hours a day. We are really moving forward. Education, I've met with the Chancellor of Indiana University. They want to establish a location in Michigan City. Ivy Tech, partnering with HealthLink to provide better medical care plus healthcare worker training. The housing, the last single-family housing unit that we had built in Michigan City was 1955. Ton of Blank did it. We don't have companies like that anymore. Ton of Blank has changed their focus. That was a remarkable project. I researched that when I was on the council because Village Green wanted new streets. I said, make the city give you concrete. The cost differential right now is very low between concrete and asphalt. So I researched it, how I could justify that. I found a letter in the county's records from Francis Feder, then mayor, when it was built, stating that that subdivision would be maintained in the spirit that it was developed, which was concrete streets. Concrete streets will last you 50 years. Asphalt won't last you 10. So we're doing things right, we're doing them carefully, we're really moving forward. There's so much I could say, and I know I don't want to keep you longer, so let me open it up for questions, because I know there's things that, there's some items that people would like to hear me talk about that unfortunately have fallen in the crack. So please, give me any question you want. Yes, ma'am.
Recently, when the weather really started to take a turn and everyone began going to the beach, we had an incident pop up there. Is there any way that we can get more security out at the beach so as our visitors do travel in, they feel more safe there? I'll say I'm born and raised 32 in Michigan City, and I love her. I've never traveled to any other along the coast, whether that's towards New Buffalo or towards Chester. I like being here, but at this point, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe going there with my kids. I ride through, I see what I think are surveillance cameras that are periodically throughout the planet, but how can we make it better in that area so that when the families are there, and as we do continue to bring other opportunities to the lake, our visitors also feel safe?
Well, I cannot talk extensively about that, because if you're trying to stop the bad guys, you don't want to tell them what you're going to do, because they'll think of a different way. But I will tell you, I've met regularly with MCPD and the Michigan City Fire Department, and in our scheme for future public safety from border to border in Michigan City, Washington Park is definitely in that. So you are going to see changes in Washington Park. I guarantee you that.
I have one more.
Okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. Also the parks. I was really excited about 2 Saturdays ago to take my children out to Creek Ridge, where the dog park is. And I get there, and what I know that park to be about 4 times the size that it is now. It seems like all of our parks are shrinking. Gardena has shrunk. Creek Ridge has shrunk. I'm not sure what the plans are for the park over by Water Tower, that area. But my biggest concern is, and I know there have been opportunities for people to come out and kind of voice their opinions, but being a single mother, working sometimes till 6:30, I miss those meetings. How come we're not at least putting back things that are already been there? The port has a great water park that's open, that's free, that's flat. Valparaiso has it. They have wonderful parks. I feel like some of the mothers, and I have mothers group, we travel outside of our community because our parks are just not the same to places that are like 25 minutes away. So I don't understand why we're not putting back what we're taking away to make sure that our parks are as fun as they were before we tore them down.
Well, I don't really understand what you mean by taking away. I am happy to say that you missed my several announcements that the splash pad will be opening again this Memorial Day, and it will be free to Michigan City residents. And that's an achievement that is heavy lifting that I give my administration credit for. My sanitary district and my park department, they put their heads together, and it's a safety facility now. It used to be a closed system to where after the water came out and sprayed on the kids, it went back in and it was recycled, so it had to be treated chemically. Now we've got a once-through system that's going to draw fresh water in and then it's out. So it's going to be safer for the operators that have to operate it. It will be safer for the kids. And that's going to be free from here on out. In reference to the other parks, it's very expensive. We're getting stronger financially all the time. We had a little bit of hardship when I came in office, but we're getting stronger. As we get stronger, we're not going to hoard the money. Michigan City's not a bank. We're frugal. We need cash reserves, but we're also going to give our people, all of you and your family, the quality of life issues that are going to make us great. Filling in that puzzle, public safety, jobs. We came so close. Everybody knows that the area across from Evergreen Plaza was Amazon. Everybody knows that now. We had to keep it under wraps. So because if we would have announced that extremely early, that would have been the only development that we got there if we had it. Speculators would have bought up all the property around it and raised the price so much that no other employers would move in there. So we had to keep it under wraps. When Amazon dropped out, they dropped out of Valparaiso at the same time they dropped out of Michigan City. I was afraid it was coming because I heard something on a financial radio show weeks before that Amazon was drawing their tentacles in on developing distribution centers. So I talked to Schuyler, I talked to Cranston and Clarence, and neither one of them had heard anything, so we marched forward. When Amazon pulled out, they said they're just slowing down. Well, we talked about, we don't slow down for anybody. We're continually marketing that property. We have interest in that property, but we're careful about who comes to Michigan City. Federal Mobile, north of the golf course, was just purchased by an entity that wants to move in there. They're not the first company that wanted that. There was a company that was in aluminum smelting that wanted it. They were really interested. We took a look at that. We don't want any more brownfields in Michigan City. So we want good, clean, lightweight manufacturing. That's what our future is. Another one, and I'll try to make it quick, Katie. Another one is we had a company from Southern California that did not like doing business in California. They approached us. We were their #1 choice, but it was hanging on the purchase of a property that they didn't get or got outbid. So they moved on to their second choice. Well, it was shortly after that the deal fell through on the property that they wanted. So I immediately called the president of the company and I told him, that land is available. We want you as part of our business family. And unfortunately, they made an offer that was accepted. They were in the due diligence period, but he told me that if that fell through, that we could count on it. So the stars are starting to align. And when they finally do, Michigan City is just going to explode. And how long that boom period is going to last, I can't say, I don't know. Because we've got just everything that business and families want. I would like to point out that we have an alliance. Mr. Tony Ferraro was instrumental. He's Senator Braun's right-hand man that takes care of business in Northwest Indiana. If Tony hadn't gotten involved in fixing the CSX crossings, because he has connections and I don't, I could still be waiting for it right now. So our partnerships are what is going to move us forward at the rate we need to. Can I take just one more question? If there's one more, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Katie. All right, well, thank you very much. I sure enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, I just want to thank everybody for being here, and obviously there's a lot of conversations that come up in these kind of discussions, health and public safety. There will be a community connections luncheon on that topic, as well as education and workforce, because all of this ties together. So please save those dates on your calendar. You'll also see on the other side, we're celebrating 105 years as a Chamber of Commerce this year. We would love for you guys to join us at our festivities on June 14th. And then really quickly, just want to mention one elected official that I forgot to mention, that's Sheriff Ron Meek. Thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.